show. This is the second part of the show that I call Session Saturdays. You're very familiar with my guest tonight, Leo. He just aired his show from Truth Not Emotion. From now on, though, for him, you can go to the website we just launched for the practice. It's www.truthnot.emotion.com. And from there, you can go right to his Truth Not Emotion Ustream show. So you don't have to sign on to Ustream anymore. CognitiveRampage.tv will be out soon, but we both did a kind of a brief lesson about life, but I kind of wanted to talk about what I call the primal activity. And one of the interventions or techniques that I use in the practice of my theory, TSBT, is the introduction of a primal activity. And this primal activity, I tell my clients to find an outdoor activity centered around fun. So I kind of want to throw that down. Leo is quite a journeyman. He's been around a bunch of places, and he's got some pretty cool stories. He's in touch with nature like I am. Nature is my church, essentially. So he'll be joining me here in a minute. How you doing, Leo?
Hey.
Come on in, brother.
How's it going?
Good, man. Good to see you.
Yeah,
bro. Oh, good, man. So, I've talked to you about the primal activity before,
good stuff.
And I know I've mentioned the story before, but, where this idea, from this primal activity spun years and years ago. I've told the story before, but, I'll never forget these moments, man. But
good stuff.
my wife and I were fishing out the Indian River, and we were wading, probably 100 yards offshore, sitting in about thigh-deep water, decent fishing day, just kind of wading around. And anyway, she points out something, toward shore, and we look at land, and equally between us and land, this giant V, man, coming through the water, just breaking the top of the water. Now, I'm familiar with the area of fishing, so I know right offhand it's a saltwater crocodile. I know right offhand, and they're much more aggressive. I know that, especially if there's a mom or a baby around,
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't have much on me but a knife, and a fishing pole. So I kind of put my wife behind me. About the time that happens, this V makes a U-turn. And it's coming right at us, man. It's coming, And I hunt and fish, so I'm familiar with the outdoors, what I do, but as that V started approaching, all I did is I took her fishing pole and mine, crossed them down into the water like it would do anything, just maybe some barrier, and I pulled out my knife, and I'm like, here we go, it's time to go, me or him,
Yeah.
So it gets 4 feet away and stops, surface. Man, in that moment, I was so free, man. It was it was a couple seconds. It surfaces, goes under, I'm waiting, and I feel a little whip on my leg, and it decided to move on. But in that moment, that freedom and that primal moment, that primal nature that I felt, I'd never felt almost more free in my life,
That's sweet.
And that day, I ran upstairs and planned out my whole company that I used to run called Primal Nature, and built it all based on that aspect, trying to bring people to nature, and I'll never forget that moment. And about probably 2 days later, my grandmother sends me a picture, and they had trapped a 6-foot saltwater crocodile because workers were trying to fix the dock there, and it was troubling. So she sends me a picture of this 6-foot long alligator, crocodile that they had trapped, and that was it. That was the one.
That's
So that moment, right? So now my whole theory is part of implementing this primal activity in your life. Now I'm not saying swim with gators or nothing. That's not what I mean.
right.
For people novice to the outdoors, you start basic. But
Right.
that story it changed my life. That moment. You know what I mean? It really did.
Well, I can't even wrap my head around that one. What?
And my wife was a champ, bro. She steady as she goes. She just stood right behind me.
Yeah, that's a good place to stand.
And then after it went by, I look at her and I say, just go to land right now, just go. Right. And I kind of stay a little bit behind her, watching, seeing what's happening as she's getting to land. But she was a champ, she was a champ. Now she skydives like crazy. She swam with some sharks with me when I took her down to the Keys. My daughter too. Both of them swam with some sharks, but you know, it's and I don't mean to take them out to a place where the sharks always are and feed them.
Right.
I mean, we were lobster diving, and there just happened to be sharks present. You know, real stuff. You know, real primal.
That's pretty primal.
Yeah.
And what's I'd imagine. I mean, I've never been in that situation, but I mean, the adrenaline's flowing, and that moment you're talking about of freedom. You know, people talk about that in the sense that, you know, once you start getting that stuff pumping through your veins, I mean, you get focused, and in that moment, it gives you like total clarity. And that clarity, then all these things that pile up inside your head that really don't amount to a hill of beans become totally insignificant.
They do.
So it's a way of almost like freeing yourself of all the mundane crap that you worry about, you dwell about, you think is important. But in that moment where you see all that was important to you was what was standing behind you. And
it was. That's all that mattered, was keep her safe.
It's not a job.
I mean, I think I even told her something like, look, if something happens, you just go. I think I said something like that. Like, look, when it goes down, you just go. Just get your butt to shore.
Yeah.
You know?
And I guess that's what I try to tap into that when people are starting to get ticked off with things that make no sense to someone else.
Yeah.
But that's where that 2 hour live question comes in.
Right, yeah.
You
If you have 2 hours to live, that's what you're speaking to. Like, it's not that important.
Yeah, I mean, putting in that sense of priority. This thing I'm getting ticked over, if if I had 2 hours to live, it falls to priority number 5,246. Why am I treating it like a top 5?
So, what's your primal moment, man? I mean, I know you've shown me some pictures traveling, man, some cool scenes. So
it's not crocodile-ish.
I know you got one.
No, man, mine's a much smaller version. Now, there's been times I used to do a lot of hiking, like different parts of the Appalachian Trail, things like that. And there was I remember one night, it was pretty wild. I'm walking down to where the fresh water is in the middle of the night, and I'm just sort of tooling along because I've been down the path about 4 or 5 times, so moonlight is all you needed to go down.
Beautiful nights, man.
And I had a flashlight, but I didn't want to mess up, the moonlight's what I wanted to see. And I start hearing these bushes wrestle, like about maybe 2 or 3 yards in front of me. And I sort of stop, and then I hear this big old rustle, and boom, there's a silhouette in front of me. And it's probably it was walking towards me, and it stopped. And so I turned on my flashlight and pointed, and it was a pretty darn good sized bobcat.
Ooh.
And it just sort of looked at me. It was absolutely beautiful, though.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking that this thing could kick my butt in about 2 seconds here. But it just came at that moment, and it walked back and forth 3 or 4 times, and trying to think about what actually it wanted to do.
Because if it jumps, man, that thing will tear you up.
Yeah.
I mean, think a house cat will tear you up.
I thought bobcats were, a little bigger than house cats. No. These things are pretty, I don't know, it looked like it was about 10 feet tall. And, but yeah, it took about 4 more steps closer to me. And I don't know if it was trying to smell or what, but then it just sprung off into the bushes and took off. I stood there probably for about another 30, 40 seconds. And
just waiting.
But in that sense, it's like, it is a moment of clarity. Because you just...
and I think people see it as chaos moment. What did this panic?
No.
But it's not. You're right, it's this clarity, like it all comes into focus, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, initial anxiety, and we all have that, fight or flight type of thing going on in our heads.
Yeah.
You with your fishing poles. But...
No, it has nothing to do with 2 fishing poles. My hope was just maybe,
He just saw us as chopsticks. Yeah. He wanted to get to the sushi.
Yeah.
Once you realize that, hey, okay, I'm in this moment, so that anxiety starts to dissipate, and then what's left is, it doesn't get more real. And it's almost like you're in touch with a part of the world that you don't even really focus on or know exists.
And that's kind of my reason of putting the primal activity into therapy.
Yeah.
I mean, we're from nature. I mean, that's essentially to think that I'm going to sit in a world of concrete and find clarity. You're wrong.
No.
You know, the clarity comes in nature. I mean, when you return to where you're from, you feel that unity. I mean, it's almost instant depression relief, because when you focus on the beauty of nature,
Yeah.
even for a half a second, in that moment, you were relieved of that worldly depression. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it is. That's how it operates, man.
It speaks to something that's, you know, pretty dormant inside of people. You know, we're all caught up in civilization, but we're not always part of civilization.
Yeah.
And the appreciation of what's as beautiful as those moments, you know, they're not even really part of your thought process during the day.
Yeah.
But that all of a sudden now you're in a world that it lives around you, but you don't live in it.
Yeah.
And at that moment you're in it.
That's why I love diving, because I think when you're underwater, you're all of a sudden like fifth on the food chain. You know, and that's only if you got a spear gun or a spear or something with you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're like 45th. You know what I mean? You're way down at the bottom.
Yeah.
And that's that, you know, I tell everybody, uncomfortable is where the change is.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, you're 50, 60 feet below, you know, even if you're 15 feet below,
Yeah.
it's a quiet place. You know, talk about an isolation tank, you know, for meditation. I mean, that's it, bro. And, you know, my brother,
have to try that sometime.
seriously, man, you know, my brother, I'm going to get him on the show eventually. Maybe if I get enough emails, you know, requesting him. But
Yeah, but he's got some stories.
oh, dude, I mean, when I think of the ultimate outdoorsman, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's my brother, period, you know? And I mean, this guy's traveled to Africa, he bow hunt in Africa, but keeping that native culture, you know, we're not killing trophies. He doesn't do that, you know? I mean, he's feeding hungry people over there with what he's taken, but,
Right.
you know, he's got a story in Africa that I won't ruin, but he actually spent overnight in the bush of Africa with just a bow on the ground. Come on. That is absolutely insane.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm all for primal,
Right.
but holy shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, but that story is amazing. I'll get him on the show eventually. You know, he's a busy dude. He's the CEO of this company called J2, amazing environmental company. But, you know, every free chance he gets, he's like me. You'll find him on the water. And if he hasn't got to his hunting, you know what I mean? He hasn't got to it and got to his outdoors. And I think that's how we all feel, though, is because, you know, I mean, my wife will tell you, she'll know when I ain't been fishing in a while. She'll tell you, go fishing, get out of here.
Right.
You know, she knows when I need it.
Well, I mean, that's your meditation place. I admire a lot of people, you know, that get into yoga and really allow themselves to, you know, shake free of all that stuff and just have that sense of just being.
Yeah.
But that's what nature does. It sounds like for you, it definitely has an impact on me. I mean, it's really hard to be depressed and when you're in the woods. You know,
I would agree.
It's a great antidepressant.
It is.
You
Too
walk
bad they can't find a way to make a pill of that shit. Would you?
Oh man, it's just,
Good God.
you know, you know, everything sort of gets back into perspective. And you have that sense of sound where all you hear is the wind blowing through the trees. Look up and see those clouds slowly floating by, and
You keep talking like that and like in a meditative state, man. You got that radio voice. You start doing, you know,
I'm serious. It's that's what gets me. It's just it becomes. I mean, everything you're looking at is poetry, but there's no words. It's sort of like the sounds there, you know, sort of your vision paints pictures of it, and it just allows you to be just a small piece of something way bigger than yourself.
And that's what I think is that moment of clarity, is people have this walk around of self-importance. And I think when you realize you're fifth on the food chain at the moment,
Right.
all of a sudden that self-importance
Yeah.
goes away. And that clarity of going, holy shit,
Yeah.
I'm a part of something bigger. I could essentially just be someone's food, you know what I mean, to a point.
Yeah.
You know, and that's real. And that's that clarity I try to urge everybody to find, you know what I mean? At least once in a while.
Right.
You know, you gotta find it, man. However it is, and that's that primal activity. You gotta get out there and do that, man.
I agree. And find what activity works for you. I mean, some people, whatever it is that gives you.
I mean, it could be a stroll down the beach. I mean, it doesn't matter, but that's still out there.
Yeah, find your own sanctuary. You know, to find that solitude. And when you enter that sanctuary, you're entering it with an understanding of who you are, and it also helps you understand who you're not.
Mm.
And that reset goes a long way to the choices you make. That philosophy you talked about in the last session, I mean, it all becomes fluid into that way of thinking. And when you have that, then you also have the direction.
It's true.
So
it calibrates me, man. And I know that does it for my brother too.
Yeah.
You know, that nature when he gets out and he's hunting or he's doing what he's doing, it's the calibration, man. You know, it sets you up for like, okay, you know, every weekend I do my best. I can't every weekend, but I do my best to try to find myself in my kayak, fishing somewhere in the Gulf of Mexico or Marco River somewhere. You know, I gotta be, you know.
Some crazy things happen out there. It's also, you know, you can laugh at yourself out there.
Yeah. My brother took the boat out today. They were hanging out at the sandbar at Key Wading. And he told me the story, and he's sitting in there, and we always go over to Key Wade and do a little shelling and stuff on the sandbars right there. And anyway, he's in the water with my niece, his daughter, Seneca.
Yeah.
And anyway, he's telling me that he's got eyes, amazing eyes, too. When we go offshore, he sees birds. I can't even see. But anyway, so he says he sees this rather large 6-foot type shark making its way down the sandbar, moving, you know. And he said it's either a lemon or a bull shark. You know, it had the hump on its back that he could notice, you know. He said he got close, he got a little worried, and he just kind of lifts Seneca up out of the water, you know, just in case, you know. But, you know, and it swims on by. And Seneca was a little nervous. She's like, no, just, you know, I'll go. And nobody got back in the water, essentially, and he didn't push her, you know. Yeah. But I think when you're 7 or 8 and you experience that, I think it does something to you, and not PTSD.
Right.
I think it informs you that you are connected to everything else.
Yeah.
And they may not know that at 7, you know, but that feeling of going, oh, okay, something could get me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. I'm not that 7-year-old narcissist like most of them, you know, and that moment's there. And I tell you, if you can ever get, you know, I urge people to get your kids in nature, you know.
I mean, that's a big part of parenting. Because a lot of things in nature is based on our own prejudices and our fears without a clear understanding of what it is all about.
Yeah.
The fact that he didn't react in a negative way, he just respected that this is something that you know, could be dangerous. But I mean, he responded. He didn't react.
Yeah.
That's what he taught her.
Ooh.
And
man, so he taught her how to respond to what the situation, not just react and panic to it.
So
respond and react are definitely different.
So in other words, he helped her see the truth, not the emotion.
That's true, man. So, that's true. Big brothers are good for that in life, man.
Yeah, that's valuable. And I think that's, I mean, so many aspects of our life, what we don't understand, we fear.
It's true.
And if we fear it, we want to destroy it. Because we're pushing it away from that thing that makes us feel something that we don't want to feel.
Mm-hmm.
But the feeling itself, instead of really challenging why do I feel that way, we just look for reasons to get rid of what's creating the feeling instead of getting rid of the feeling itself. And that's where nature, if you spend time in it, like spending the night in that woods by yourself or whatever, it's, I mean, that's really scary for a lot of people. But but a lot of
many people do that mentally every night.
Yeah.
Mentally, they're alone in the woods, you know, but they can't get through it, you know.
Yeah, it's like that's where, like you're saying, where the change is.
Mm-hmm.
You got to stay in that discomfort. You got to challenge it. Why do I feel that way? In fact, why don't I have to feel this way?
Yeah.
So either you land on the other side of that discomfort, which means there's growth there.
Sure.
Or I fall back into my old way of thinking, which gives me a sense of comfort, but without any wisdom. And that's why prejudice, I think, a lot of time continues to reside in our culture, because our societies would rather demonize different people that are different than us than try to understand them as a part of us.
Whew! You're baiting me for the conversation I had at the doctor's office with
Oh,
a
yeah.
gentleman.
That's right.
I
I was talking about, yeah. You know,
I
he's
had a
very-
rather colorful conversation with a mid-50s Anglo-Saxon male.
didn't quite understand Native American
No,
situations in our world or society.
no, it was hard to stay calm, honestly. You know, in all
You did a good
his.
job though, from what you told me.
I was practicing every coping skill I preach, brother. Because
Yeah.
this guy was just saying things. I mean, essentially, he was okay in genocide just because we've always done it,
Right.
you know? And I'm just, oh my God, it was. And for him to think, like, you know, the word, it was over the what's happening with the Washington Redskins, losing the patent on the name.
Mhm.
And he didn't know I was native, you know, so he kind of jumps in the middle and announces his disagreement. You know, I announced my agreement, and herein lied the beginning of the conversation,
Mhm.
you know, and talk about uninformed, you know. He didn't even know where the word redskin came from. You know, the idea that he's defending the use of a word that he doesn't even know the origins of
Right.
was like, man, I'm like, the word redskin was used by the cavalry when they went out killing women, children, and men, Native Americans, and they would come back and tally up how many redskins did you kill today, like they were furs that they were collecting.
Pelts.
And so hence the name Redskin stuck.
Mhm.
And he still, you know, still just wouldn't listen. You know, well, they could have just assimilated into our culture. They didn't have to stay on the reservations. Wow. I was like, so the arrogance that someone should just let go of their 1,000+ year old culture and just assimilate. And he goes, well, yeah, it was that or die. And I'm like, wow, and who put that choice out there?
Yeah.
Oh, don't get me going. I'll get on a rampage, man.
Well,
But you're speaking of that, the naivety of what people don't know. The same when he brings up the casinos.
yeah.
People just don't know. And they think that, oh, they all got casinos. No. Less than half the tribes actually got casinos.
Yeah.
Most of them live in rural areas, so it
Right.
doesn't work.
No,
And
certain
when the
tribes,
hell
too, very few.
did here's gambling and alcohol become the solution to poverty? I don't, you know, so it's not even like that.
Well,
I mean,
it's a good thing I was in a doctor's office, so in case something went wrong there.
Oh, I'm telling you, he was lucky he was at the MRI office.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, buddy, but I didn't even get that way. You know, what am I going to do? I can't change somebody's beliefs, you know?
But you made him think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, when people hear something different that they've normalized as the truth,
Mm-hmm.
to hear something that's foreign to that is really hard to wrap their head around, because if that's not true, then maybe all these other things that I think are true aren't true, and whoa, that's too overpowering, so let me just hang on to this.
Right.
But, you know, the first time they hear something, they sort of accommodate that way of thinking if they're somewhat open-minded. But not till they really take time to really look into themselves and challenge their belief system are they going to assimilate it into who they are.
Into who they are, yes.
So,
for sure, man.
But yeah, you broke the ice there, and a lot of people would just let it go, like never pass up the opportunity to say nothing. So that's a problem, and then it just perpetuates. So good for you.
Yeah, sorry, I got to keep getting up. We didn't change the screensaver on there, so it clips out black. So that's why I keep getting up, by the way. So, you know,
Yeah.
we'll get the technology down soon.
Yeah.
We got some microphones ordered, some real stuff. So it's coming soon, I promise. But we'll be switching to actually doing podcasts on the podcast app through Apple. Once all the equipment gets here and we get all set up, we're going to move there. We'll still be doing the Ustream, streaming it live. But for the most part, we haven't brought on a whole lot of new guests or expanded much until we get all that equipment we need. I tell you, just some guests that are on the docket to be on the show is one of my first mentors in life, in the field of psychology and even somewhat life, is Dr. Jan Burt. He's over in Boca Raton, man. He's, great clinical psychologist dealing with chronic pain. He's also a business partner of mine in mywindowOut.com. We're launching soon. He's going to come talk for a while. Dr. Ralph Rybeck, who you know very well. Guy's been in Time Magazine and done a lot of research. Harvard professor, Georgetown graduate. I mean,
Exactly.
amazing guy. I mean, this guy knows almost everything about everything.
He's a very knowledgeable psychiatrist.
Amazing guy to talk to. But so Dr. Rybeck will be on the show soon. Dr. Jan Burt will be on the show.
Like you guys know out there, my session Saturdays, I try to center around mentors in my life, people that I learn from and grow from. Leo is definitely one of those mentors. Right now, kind of the main mentor in my field. That's why I'm trying to have my brother on. He's been a mentor to me. Just people that have really influenced my life, even from the past. But that's what Session Saturdays are about. So, just want to shoot the shit with you, man. I love hanging out in our conversations.
Always real.
They're
So,
cool, man.
Thanks a lot. And still waiting on that rap you got.
Everybody keeps telling me,
That's
man.
right.
Some people that are watching know me from way back. I've always kind of been a stand-up freestyle poet. My buddy Ranye is an excellent freestyle poet. I mean, the guy's an amazing artist
I've
too.
heard him say that.
And so, I mean, he got me into it, but who knows, man? Maybe that's my little private thing I keep,
It's I mean,
Imagine me keeping something private.
that's you mean that's making you feel uncomfortable to do this, huh?
No, actually, I don't feel uncomfortable. I mean, I love just letting it go in that flow state. I do.
So I think people need to hear it.
Yeah, well, it's something
So-
special to me, though. It's something I keep close, but maybe.
Okay. Well, listen, either way, appreciate being on, and hey, good luck with everything.
Yeah, brother.
Hanging in.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna go out and find a shark.
right,
take care.
Later, brother. Cool. I appreciate you joining Session Saturdays, or if you're watching the recorded version, you're keeping up with us. That's cool. Let's see. I told you about a couple guests that are coming on. I hope you like the new format. What I'm going to end up probably doing with those didactic rampages is keeping them shorter like that, to 5 or 6 minutes, emphasizing one major point, and then keeping our session Saturdays just talking about life and different people. But I'll have an email address up for you by next week that you can start communicating with me, sending me questions, stories, staying with me. So if you've been following me since our first episode, you're kind of up to date with my theory and some processes in life. So if you ever need questions or anything, I'll have that email up for you by next week so we can start communicating with you. And, tell me about some things you want to know. Maybe I can present those to you. But anyway, for now, I appreciate you joining me. Cheers to that. Love everybody. And special thanks to all my family that came to my graduation today. Meant a lot to have my little girl, my daughter, Morgan Lowry. I love you, baby. My wife, Jennifer Lowry, I love you too. Mom, thank you for coming out. And Mema, the angel of my life. Thank you all for coming out. Davey, appreciate all the support. But it was a good day. Again, thanks for joining me on the Cognitive Rampage show. We'll see you on another time.